And Niles gets really mad and he screams for the person at the door to just come on in. And it's Stu. And then he gets nice when Stu opens the door and he says, Stu, is there anything that you might need? And then Stu says, yes, actually, I can have an extra dry martini if that's okay with you. And Niles says, don't worry. By the time you'll get it, it'll be evaporated.
Hello, hello.
Welcome back to another episode of A Fine Podcast.
Yes, welcome back, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well, having a grand old day.
You're a grand old flag. You're a high-flying flag.
Yes. Let's pay homage to our nation state while we're at it.
Yes. Grand. Word of the day.
Yes. And there's a lot of grand things happening in
This
the
episode.
world of the nanny.
Yeah. So we are excited to be here once again. And today we are discussing Season 1, Episode 20, Ode to Barbra Joan.
Yes. What an ode it is. A grand ode.
It's a grand ode to Barbra Joan.
Yes. Yes, we are breaking down this episode.
Piece by piece. Minute by minute. Here we go.
Let's just jump into it.
So in this episode, Cece's father comes to visit, and Cece initially turns down the offer to see Barbra Streisand with her father. And Fran, who adores all things Barbra, gets Cece's wonderful opportunity.
Yes, she gets the opportunity of a lifetime, really, for Fran. But will she take up his offer? Will she deny it? Will she think about it?
Just have to stick around with us to hear the recap. So Brighton comes in his baseball uniform into the office, and we learn that he ordered a really big jock strap to put underneath his outfit.
Yes, that is what happened.
Fran can't believe it. And Max says, well, he's a Sheffield. He'll grow into it.
Yeah. Maybe when he's about 45. But
45. Getting right into it. Brighton baseball. We'll get more into that later. So to set the scene more, Niles and Cece are also in the room, and the telephone rings. And then Niles comes in with his first burn right off the bat. And he says, Miss Babcock, there's a gentleman on line 3 that claims to be your father, and I admire him for having the guts to admit it.
Yeah, I mean...
It's pretty insulting.
Yeah, now he's really attacking her family at this point.
And her.
Yes.
Mainly her.
Her, right, yes. But even still to now bring in family members to turn against her. He's really not...
Well, he's basically saying it's shameful to admit you're the father of Cece.
Yeah, who would ever want to be associated with her?
Terrible.
Yeah, it must be a terrible life if you know her or you had to father her or exist to her.
Wow. These are some hard-hitting burns.
Yeah, I don't know. The more as we're like rewatching this, it's like the more I feel Niles was really, really was pretty unheartfelt about these things.
If you like sit there and analyze what they actually mean, and it's like not for a joke, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Do you think Cece goes home and cries at night?
No.
After holding it in all day? It's terrible. Now I feel bad for Cece.
I mean, there's a new view of Cece after a second time of watching this, but
so Cece says her father is coming to town, and they have nothing in common though, so she's not too excited about this. And Fran says, Cece, you should make time for your family. Family's very important. And then she says, why don't you invite him over to dinner? And then Fran volunteers Niles to make the whole meal, which I thought was pretty mean to do.
Yeah, but Maxwell is a part of this dinner we see as well. So it's not just
right. It's like
Niles working for
sure.
Cece at this
but
point.
I guess overall it's weird that the nanny would volunteer the butler that she doesn't employ to host and cook
Yes,
for
right.
this event.
Yeah, that seems
And the direction did not come from Maxwell.
right.
So Cece says, I really would like for everybody to meet the man in my life. And Max assumes that she means a date and not her father. And she doesn't. And then this is where Niles comes in with his second burn. And he says, I will blow him up and put him in his usual chair.
Yes.
Indicating Cece does not have any actual dates ever.
Right. Well, I mean, it is true about that fact. The only man in her life is her father. So.
And she doesn't get along with him that well.
Right. And even that one's a struggle. So better. Maybe a inflatable doll as a imaginary friend is better.
Wow. In this next scene, Cece is starting to get really paranoid about the dinner and making sure it's going to go really well. And Cece says, Niles, you can't use this china. This pattern is hideous. And then this is where Niles comes in with his third burn. And he says, that's not the pattern. That's your reflection.
Some of these are quite quick-witted. I mean, I once again, it's quite a diss, but I do have to give him. It's quite impressive to be that quick-witted.
Yeah,
to come up with a response like that.
I just can't imagine being Cece in this situation and then never saying anything back to somebody who's constantly like.
Yeah, it is almost
digging
like,
at me.
why would I ever even? Why would I even come to this house anymore if the butler is just ragging on me constantly?
He's ragging on her, yet he's making the whole entire meal.
Yeah, that's.
So Cece says, I'm going to see my father. Everything has to be perfect because he's demanding, he's critical, he's judgmental. You have no idea what it's like to be around somebody like that. And then here's where Niles comes in with another burn and he says, totally in the dark, not a clue.
Referring to Cece herself.
Being the same exact way as she's describing her father.
Yes. So clearly it runs in the family.
Then we have an interaction with Cece and Max, and Cece says to Max, you have little planes all over your tie. And Max says, so? And she says, well, Daddy's a Navy man. You don't have anything with boats? And then she says, oh, no, never mind. I'll go get it for you myself, and volunteers to go into Maxwell's closet and help him get another tie. And this is when we have another burn from Niles, number 5. And he says, any excuse to get in his drawers.
Yeah. He's really... Maybe, I guess she's very stressed about the thing, and he finds this as a great opportunity to just add on to that stress. Just almost every response basically trying to do some kind of increasing of stress against her. So
yes. Any opportunity he can get here.
He's not really caring about the minute details where she needs little thing to be perfect for this. So
in this next scene, Cece's father comes in, and his name is Stu, and he first runs into Maggie, who he says, oh, Cece, it's so nice to see you again. And he's making a joke here. And then Cece says, Daddy, I'm over here. And then Cece's father, Stu, says, well, she has her mother's sense of humor. None. Because Cece didn't get the joke.
Yeah, well, she's a very literal person. Everything, kind of, as we've seen in previous stuff, she takes very literally about things, and nothing is sarcastic or whatnot. So, yes, she takes this in a literal sense, thinking that maybe he's delusional or something to think she's 20 years younger than, or that she hasn't aged. But
since high school.
Yeah, so the actor that appears as Cece's father, Stu, is Robert Culp, which he was a pretty renowned actor and screenwriter earlier in his career, and he's a little bit in the latter point of his career at this point. But so yes, he's a famous name as a guest star that shows in this episode.
Okay, that makes sense because everybody was clapping.
They're always clapping.
They're always clapping for it.
Yeah.
So next cutscene, everybody's at the dinner table enjoying the giant meal that Niles prepared for everybody. And Stu is a big hit with the family and Fran. And everyone's just dying laughing at all of his jokes. And he's funny and he's engaging. And then Cece tries to join in on all the jokes and fun. And she's not funny at all, though. And she sort of brings down the mood here. So.
Yeah, well, this also is just pointing to how literal and what she thinks is funny as a joke. I mean, one of the jokes is, her and her friend were at a hotel pool and they got locked out of their room or something. So they were wet, cold, miserable, and dripping. And this was really funny in the elevator or something.
Didn't land.
No one understood nor thought it was funny. So, yeah, she was not great at storytelling.
I think it was nice she was trying to chime in, but it really didn't work.
Yeah. She should have just left the jokes to the dad. Keep the dad jokes rolling.
True. So Cece's dad then starts to mention that he's here on business, and part of his business is him showing his face at some Streisand concert that's coming up. And Fran says, "Oh my goodness, I'm her biggest fan." And then she starts talking about her obsession with Barbra. And this is where we learn that Cece's dad is backing Barbra's tour. And then Cece comments and says, "I find Barbra to be annoying. Her singing is nasal, and I don't care for her very much." So this is where we learn that Cece doesn't care for Barbra. And then we have Fran on the opposite extreme, who is her number one fan.
Yes. Fran is very excited about this. This is like her idol. And then Fran gets invited, or her father wants to take her.
So Stu wants to take Fran instead of inviting Cece.
Yes, and Cece would probably just have a terrible time, and Fran would actually enjoy her time there. So
yeah, so he says, Cece, since you don't like her, which totally makes sense.
Yeah.
And so what'd you think about this?
I mean, it would make sense, especially from the surface, that why not take someone who's going to have a more enjoyable time with it and actually be fun to be there or excited to be there, and why take someone who's going to be miserable to go? That makes sense to me.
So Fran is super excited about the possibility of this, and she faints for the first time. And then Stu says, "Well, the tickets are in the front row." And then she faints for the second time at the table. And then he says, "I'm really scared to tell her the next thing." And then she says, "Oh, I'm prepared. It's okay." And he says, "We're going backstage." And then it's a delay faint for the third time. She's okay for a little bit.
Yeah, well, not everyone, but Niles and Max are holding up Fran so that she won't fall.
But as soon as they let her go, she faints.
Yeah, a couple moments after. Because that news is just so exhilarating for her.
Yes. And Cece tells them to enjoy. And also, there's more talk about Brighton's baseball thing.
Yes. Yeah. Because he plays right field, and there's a whole joke about playing right field is you're basically just a loser on the field playing if you play out there. But
is that where you played when you played Little League baseball starting off?
Of course not. I was not a loser.
Shouldn't everybody start off in the loser field?
All right. That's really a thing. A right field is an important position. It's just generally there's more right-handed people who play baseball. So naturally it goes to left field more. So right field not as much. So right field is, if the people at bat are more right-handed, then less chance of the right field person actually being a necessity. But no,
so they're useless sometimes.
Not useless.
If everyone bats right-handed, then they're not catching the ball.
Just percentage-wise, their percentage of being involved is
not useless, but
less significant.
Yes.
So
you put your worst players out in the right field?
I mean, not necessarily, because then you could try to hit the ball out there, but
yeah, that's true.
But no, I played first base. So
Whoa, first base.
yeah, which was usually you had to be the pretty good catcher for first base. So
Did you enjoy baseball?
I did. It was great.
How many years did you play baseball?
No idea. I don't know. It must have been like 4 or 5 years, maybe.
So in this next scene, we're in Maxwell's office, and Max and Niles are in, and then Cece comes walking in and joins them, and she says she thinks her father is missing. She can't find him anywhere. And Max says he's not missing. He's shopping with Fran. And this is where we see Cece pretty jealous.
Yeah, because this is where it really things kind of kick off as a friendship with Fran and Stu, and he loves to take her out shopping and do all this stuff, which I don't think Cece. I find it strange because I would think Cece would somewhat enjoy this, maybe not to the degree of like the fun frill shopping, but I don't know, maybe shopping for business suits or something like that. Fran is getting all these fun, expensive gifts because he likes to splurge on her. But then they make it kind of almost play this relationship rather than like Fran just being a nice friend or a daughter-like figure or something to Stu. It's almost like more of like a romantic relationship.
Yeah, it's really weird. He calls her kitten and all this weird stuff.
Yeah.
So Fran and Stu walk in, and Fran has a brand new fancy dress and jewelry. And he leaves and says he'll see her tonight, kitten.
Yeah.
And then Cece walks in and says, "Where are they? I can't believe they're not back yet." And Fran hears her. And then she says, "Miss Babcock, you don't have a problem with me spending some time with your father, do you?" And Cece says, "Nanny, fine, please. I could care less." And then Niles comes following along with his next burn, and he says, "Oh, good, because if they get married, Miss Fine will be your new mummy."
Yes, emphasis on the mummy.
Mummy. And then there's a lot of fainting in this show, this episode. Cece faints hearing that.
Yeah, it's just enough to tip her over the edge. Which then they go into this interesting shot angle with, they didn't do this with Fran, but
It's like Cece's point of view.
right. Yeah, so they shoot the camera where Niles and Fran and Brighton are all just staring at Cece directly above her.
Yes. And they're all talking about her, and she's still like semi-conscious. And Fran says, "Brighton, quick, give me your sneaker. That should wake her up." And then Niles comes in with another burn and says, "Oh, and just when I was about to slap her."
Yeah. This was his one chance to do it without her without her realizing what's going on.
Right. And then Fran decides to tease her to get her to wake up and says, "In the will, doesn't it say that the daughter comes after the wife if we were to get married?" And that's what perks Cece right up.
Yes. But then this almost shows like almost a shallow side to Cece, because it's like she just wants the relationship with her father.
For the will.
Yeah, she doesn't want it. She wants it damaged enough to just be out of reach of him, but then not enough to be out of the will or someone else to
That's kind of sad.
take the proceeds. Since
Wow.
this like perks her up to wake up. I don't know. I just kind of put that together.
Yeah. It's not great. Not looking good. So next we see Max afraid to tell Brighton that he can't make his baseball game because he has to go speak at the theater.
But it was also his like excitement to talk. He was to give a lecture at the theater. But
Yeah, he really wanted to do that.
Yes, because they finally asked him versus Andrew Lloyd Webber.
But it was only because he was like sick or something, right?
Right, he was out of town.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he was out of town.
Yeah, so it was Bax's one opportunity to have the spotlight on him.
So Max really is afraid to tell Brighton, but then he eventually tells him. And then Brighton says, "No problem." And he says, "Thanks, son." And he doesn't think anything about it. And then Fran follows Max into his office and says, "Brighton must secretly be really upset with you about this." And then behind Fran and Max talking, we see Cece very upset on the balcony. And she steps on Niall's foot out there.
Yeah, so Fran is. This was actually I thought this was like a really clever way
It's like a parallel
they
thing.
shot this. Yeah, so Fran's talking to Max about Brighton and figuring out how, the kids, they don't want to upset their parents. And he's just going to say, he's fine with you missing the game to go speak at the lecture. But inside, he's really hurt. And he might even be angry. And then, Cece's on the balcony and she looks very upset. And then, Fran says, they'll resort to anger. And then Cece throws like a vase off the table, the vase off the table, and breaks it and starts showing a lot of anger. And then that anger could turn into violence, Fran mentions. And then she steps on Niall's toe to cause pain.
So do you think this counts as like sort of a burn for Cece? Even though she didn't actually say anything, but she...
Yes, because she violently assaulted Niles.
Stepped on his foot. Maybe not, but...
I mean...
Maybe it's all that pent-up
It's a physical...
anger.
Yes.
A physical burn?
Yeah. By attacking Niles.
I don't know if that counts.
I could say it could... It wasn't witty. It was with pure force.
Painful. So next, Fran, she's getting ready to see Barbara, getting all fancy, has this big glittery dress on, and Sylvia is helping her to get ready because Sylvia is also a huge Barbara fan.
Yes, Fran and her have competitions over their love for Barbara, so...
Then Fran really disappoints Sylvia and says, I really shouldn't be going to this because Stu should be taking his daughter, Cece. So she starts to really care about their relationship. And then, of course, Sylvia has no cares about this at all. And she tries to bring Fran some Barbara-related items to convince her to go. And Fran says she just can't because Sylvia raised her too good. And family comes first. And Sylvia said, yes, but I meant our family. Whenever I told you that.
Yeah, not their family.
Not their family.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, Sylvia is almost kind of being an improper mother here by having Fran want to go to this concert and ruin Cece by not going to this.
Sylvia's love for Barbara overcomes any message about the importance of other people's families.
Yeah. Yes, Fran getting to see Barbara is the most important thing at this point. Which, I don't know, you almost could spin it as like, well, she's doing it for her daughter. She wants her daughter to have this great experience. And who cares about
I guess
this other
so.
person who's not going to enjoy the experience the same way that...
But really, don't we think she's doing it for her? For herself?
Sure, yes, yeah. Since she's like such vicariously trying to
live through
get
her
this experience.
Would you say that this is a Fran finesse moment because she is willing to give up the concert of her dreams?
Yeah, this is a pretty selfless act. I think this is a great finesse moment for Fran here.
Fran finds finesse.
Way to go, Fran. Way to keep your selflessness ahead of you.
Must have been really, really, really hard.
Yeah, I mean that was tough, I'm sure.
In this next scene, Niles has a giant foot injury, making it really hard for him to move around. And this is all because Cece angrily stepped on his foot outside on the balcony, which I just made that connection.
I was just saying, I just made that as well. Yeah, we watched this. I was like, what the heck? Why is Niles complaining about this limping around?
We didn't understand this at all. I was like, when did this even come into the episode? And then I was thinking towards the beginning, like, he didn't have an injury.
Yeah, like totally.
I don't know why we couldn't figure that out.
Because Fred made some weird thing about it because he was feeling sick or unwell about something earlier. She was talking about his core not being great, and then I was like, there's no reference to this. This doesn't make any sense. But then I don't know, for some reason it finally made sense. Oh yeah,
Yeah, it just clicked for me with that.
Stuff just
So,
but that must have been pretty violent if he's having like that much pain afterward.
Was he in a cast?
He might,
or like?
I didn't see that. He's just in a shoe, I thought, but
I thought he was wearing like a splint or something.
I don't know. Maybe she broke his toe. It's pretty
she must have
violent.
been really angry. That's a super burn from
Yeah.
Cece.
Yeah, I'd count that as like 2 then.
Yeah. Maybe it should count. So then Max still comes up to Niles and says, Niles, somebody's at the door for you. And Niles says, oh, I thought another angel got its wings.
Yes, he's very slowly making his way to the door. And Max just doesn't care.
No, but then Max says, oh, well, you should really do something about your feet. And Niles says, oh, perhaps I can just chew them off. And Max was thinking of more of a visit to his chiropodist, which comes up again.
Yes. Chiropodist.
And then Max says, well, as long as you can take care of it by yourself, fine. And Niles gets really mad and he screams for the person at the door to just come on in. And it's Stu. And then he gets nice when Stu opens the door and he says, Stu, is there anything that you might need? And then Stu says, yes, actually, I can have an extra dry martini if that's okay with you. And Niles says, don't worry. By the time you'll get it, it'll be evaporated.
Yeah, that was a clever response.
That was awesome. I love that response. And then we see Fran strolling down the stairs in her big fancy dress. And then she tells Stu, I can't go. Which
Yeah.
you're still wearing the full outfit and gloves and jewelry and hair all done and makeup.
And I actually just kind of thought about something too with this is she comes down in this full like white sparkly dress and has these arm gloves. I don't know what you call them, arm sleeves. And
I think just gloves.
yeah, but I was just thought about, they probably did the white dress because this is really trying to play with like Fran's selflessness and what a great person she was by sacrificing her experience for this to give it to Cece by wearing
Symbolism.
that dress. Yeah.
I also thought the glitter part of it was just for Barbara because she was like big and fancy with her stuff too.
Yeah.
But-
I mean, the main thing is the white dress. Yeah. So I'm trying to. Yeah. Who cares about the glitter?
Wow, I love that you took us back to English class for that. That's great.
I'm having all these epiphanies
Symbolism.
while we talk about this episode.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Fran tells Stu, you should really take Cece to this concert. And then we hear Sylvia starting to sing a Barbara song from upstairs for Fran to hear. Like one last ditch effort to get her to change her mind.
Yeah.
And then Stu says, well, Cece doesn't even want to go. And Fran says, well, she does want to be with you. And then Cece walks in and sees Fran and Stu saying goodbye, and they agree on this, but they hug. And Cece gets really jealous and mad and then storms upstairs into Maxwell's hall bathroom.
Well, and also, too, Stu kissed Fran's forehead, which was interesting, but she walked right into that. And then he also made the reference again to, and she also has her mother's timing. The whole situation looks misconstrued for Cece, so.
I wonder if that means that they got divorced. They got divorced because Cece's mother walked in on Stu hugging or kissing someone else if she has her mother's timing.
Wow. Yeah, you're really now.
Well, there's 2 digs that Stu makes to Cece's mother. She has no humor and she
Yeah.
has bad timing.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that was a big misconception. Wow, yeah.
I don't know. I was thinking
That's
about
an interesting
their relationship.
An interesting theory.
So anyway, Cece is like a little teenager throwing a tantrum upstairs in the bathroom. And then Fran tells Niles, like, go get a butter knife to get her out of this bathroom and because it's locked. And then Niles comes in with his last burn here. And he says, oh, why don't we just starve her out?
Yes. Which I guess, yeah.
Is it really a burn?
I mean, the intensity of all these other burns, it's nice to probably have one that kind of falls flat here. So.
That's true. The others were like on fire.
Yeah. So it's good that this one's a dud. Yeah, but then it's frustrating for him because they want him to go get this knife and his foot is killing him still. So he has to go limp to the kitchen to grab a knife and then limp back. And so
Yeah.
now he's just hating his job since he's having to walk around.
Injured.
Yeah. As an invalid.
And he's being ordered to help the person that injured him too, which can't be fun.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Yes, yeah.
So let's go over the burns of Niles and Cece.
We have reached a conclusion to all of the ones in this episode.
Is this heaven or is this hell? Maybe sometimes both as well. Naughty nights and sassy CC.
Burn number 1.
Miss Babcock, there's a gentleman on line 3 who claims to be your father, and I admire him for having the guts to admit it.
Burn number 2.
I'll blow him up and put him in his usual chair.
Number 3.
That's not the pattern. It's your reflection.
Number 4.
Totally in the dark. Not a clue.
Burn number 5.
Any excuse to get in his drawers. His drawers.
His draws. Burn number 6.
Fran could be your new mummy.
Fran.
Fran.
Burn number 7.
Oh, I was just about to slap her.
And the last burn.
Why don't we just starve her out?
And the burn for Cece.
Physical violence and stubbing Niles' toe. Pure aggression. It's all that hatred that got built up over the years. Her hatred for her father, this whole upsetness really just came out on Niles.
Take it out on the butler.
Yeah.
So that makes 8 burns for Niles and 1 silent but deadly burn for Cece.
Yes. So it is a blow up by Niles, but Cece is getting some payback by physically assaulting Niles. So.
Physical violence.
When you have those burns like that, you have to resort to physical violence. So.
I guess there's just not a good enough response that she could have made so far.
Nothing would have beat stubbing his toe. So.
Or breaking his foot, however
That's
harsh
true.
it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I should say more of that. It looks more like that if he's hobbling around after this. So.
So Sylvia comes upstairs and she uses her acrylic nails to open the door. Sylvia's finesse.
Yes, the acrylic nails.
Yes,
They're
nails.
coming back.
It's great. And then Fran goes in first to check on Cece, and Cece is smoking on the toilet.
Yeah. This I was like, didn't understand.
Weird.
Yeah. I guess she used to be a former. It's like Fred, because Fred is actually similar to that. Remember in the second one, she's like, I'm just so stressed out. In the second episode, she has to go start smoking or something.
Yeah.
So Cece resorts to smoking in traumatizing situations.
It's weird. We don't see too much of this later on, but it's like the early season. They're doing this stuff. Which, yeah. So Fran tells Cece she has to stop pushing people away. And she says to her back, I think people misunderstand me and people just think I'm cold-hearted.
Yeah, and just that I'm this misunderstood person. But then we have Fran, which, they continue along this relationship thing where Fran and her father were like in a romantic relationship because she's like, your father and I are very concerned about your behavior, and
collectively
and
we're
all
concerned
this,
about you.
Yes, yeah. She keeps wording everything like they're a couple in this thing.
That's weird.
Which I guess that was the joke to play it along, and then Cece's pouting like a
child.
Like a child.
That
yes.
is true.
So they're
I didn't
playing
realize
this whole like family.
Dynamic.
Strange family dynamic here.
And is Cece just the grandmother or Sylvia just the grandmother who's coming in?
Yeah, I guess.
To help unlock the door.
Yeah. Yeah, so then Cece pouts like a little child and
she's crying on Fran's shoulder like Fran's the mother.
yeah.
And then Stu comes in and hugs Cece and he says he never saw her cry before. ever.
Well, maybe the crash of '87.
Yeah, except for that.
Which then points back to or Cece's obsession with the
Money.
the finances.
Yep. So Stu tells Cece, I would love it if you go to the concert with me. And says that Cece is lucky to have a friend like Fran. Which I thought that was nice. He's referring to Fran as a friend.
Yes, yeah. He was, and it was actually interesting how Cece like actually accepted that. She was like, yeah.
But it almost seemed like too easy that she accepted it.
Yeah,
Because then it leads into her asking for Fran's dress.
Yeah, right. She's like, yeah, as long as I can have her dress, I'll go to this party.
Yeah, she
All right,
says,
good.
Fran's such a good friend. That's why she's going to let me wear her dress.
Yeah.
And then Fran is like, oh, okay.
Which I'm shocked they're the same size. And two,
I know. That was kind of odd. I'm like, it's just going to fit like a glove for two different people? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But I don't know, especially with how accepting, I guess, because, yeah, she's getting something in return, so it's not just a free. Yes, she's wonderful, but all the previous episodes where she's quite against her
Right.
constantly.
They don't
and then
seem
now
to
all
be
of a sudden they're like,
buddy.
yeah. But maybe it's because her dad doesn't know these contentions, fighting for Max and whatnot. So
Right.
from his eyes, it looks like they're
Friends.
nice friends. Yeah.
So Fran agrees, lets her wear the dress. And then Fran says goodbye to Cece and Stu as they head off to the concert. And Sylvia said, what you did was nice, Fran, but it sure was stupid.
Yeah, her mother's really not playing the nice role here.
No.
Playing devil's advocate, kind of.
At least she admitted it was nice. She moved a little bit
Yeah.
in her
She's
thinking.
like, I'm glad it was nice, but I hate you for
Yeah.
doing this.
So this is when Max stands strong and he says, I'm going to follow your example, Fran. And would you count this as a dapper daddy moment?
Yeah, I would say that.
Dapper daddies take gender backwards.
So Max cancels his big event speaking at the theater, which he was really excited for, all to go to Brighton's baseball game. And he goes up to Brighton so excited to tell him the news that he's going to be there for him. And Brighton says, I told you I didn't care. And Maxwell said, well, no, what you meant was it's okay, you've accepted it, but I know deep down in there you probably care. And Brighton says, no, I actually truly didn't care, and I don't care so much, I don't even think I'm going to the game. I don't want to go.
Yeah.
He goes, thanks, Dad, bye.
So then Max looks to Fran like she totally misled him in this situation.
She read that one wrong. Brighton's like, no, I honestly meant what I said.
Yeah.
I don't care. And I'm not even going. So now you canceled all that for no reason.
Yeah, he's completely ruined everything at this point.
So in this next scene, Cece and Stu are at the concert enjoying it together. And I thought it was really nice because they called in Fran and Sylvia to listen. So Fran and Sylvia are by the phone listening to Barbra sing.
Yeah, this was kind of an interesting idea and nice for Cece to do this, or maybe it was Stu's idea to call him to at least have them hear her voice and act.
Yeah.
Kind of somewhat be in the
Involved.
concert as well. Yeah.
It's nice.
Yes. Which then Barbra at the end actually
Takes
grabs
the
the phone and says hello, and then they freak out.
And Stu was nice enough to give her the phone and make that special moment happen for Fran.
Yeah, that's true. So Stu's really a nice guy.
He put Barbra on the phone with him.
Yeah.
And she starts talking, and Sylvia and Fran can't believe it.
Yeah. It almost makes you think like this connection about why their Cece and their father are so different. I mean, he seems like such a nice guy.
I know.
But maybe it's just all for show.
I think he truly cares.
He's not being honest.
Maybe Cece also agreed that they should do that too.
Yeah. And then they lived happily ever after as a father and daughter.
Hopefully. I don't think we ever see Stu ever again.
Yeah. So one time.
One time Stu. So in this last scene, Fran is singing Barbra tunes with Chester, the dog, who's barking along.
Yes, how nice. Singing Barbara. Well, I think it's time for a recap.
Let's put this all together. These moments are forever.
Cece's dad, Stu, is in town.
Where's
Where's daddy?
where's my little girl? Yeah. Where's daddy?
Where's daddy? Where's my little girl? Cece's dad has a Barbra concert to go to for work.
Time to go see the one and only Streisand.
Cece's dad invites Fran to go to the concert.
Well, if you're going to be more excited, I'm going to take you and forget you, my daughter.
Cece, goodbye.
Moving on.
Cece pretends not to care, but she's really jealous.
I'm going to break Niles' foot because I'm so angry.
Cece smokes in Maxwell's bathroom.
Ugh, I just need to hit a nicotine and all this.
Stress will go away.
Yeah. Gonna take the edge off.
Fran gives up her spot for Cece to go to the concert.
I must be selfless and remove myself from this situation to improve the relationship of their father and daughter.
Cece goes to the concert and has a wonderful time with her dad.
But does she? They look happy, but are they really happy?
I think it's sincere.
Yes. I mean, if they called Fran, they must be happy.
That's true. Max cancels a big event that he's set to go off to in order to go watch Brighton play baseball.
He's trying to do the selfless act like Fran and give up his big thing for his son.
Brighton truly did not want to go, and he is not going. Therefore, the cancellation is pointless.
Yes, like a man he is. There's no hidden agenda. It's just flat out raw and simple. I didn't want to go. There's no double meaning behind it.
Nothing there. And Niles ends up with an injury, and he is incredibly mad about it.
Yes. Shouting again at the top of his lungs in pain. But he gets better. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. I hope so.
We'll have to see next time. Maybe he's still limping around. Maybe he's in a wheelchair.
FDR.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be a miracle and he'll get his footing again. Well, I think that brings a conclusion to the end of our episode as well.
That's right. So we enjoyed talking about Barbra, Fran's love for Barbra, Cece's love for her father.
Yes, it's Stu, her father.
Stu.
Stewie.
Stewie boy, we enjoyed it.
Yes.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode, and we hope to see you back next time.
Yeah, follow us on all our platforms. We'll see you later.
A Fine Podcast signing out.
Ciao.
Bye.